Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the lecture of Real Analysis 2. In the last lecture, we have seen an important preposition of proving that whenever we have two measurable functions, then their addition by constant, multiplication by constants, addition of two measurable functions, subtraction and product are the measurable functions. Okay, we have proved this preposition step by step. To prove function f plus c is measurable, first we have written its definition. F plus c operated on x, We know according to pointwise operation definition, this is evaluated as f of x plus c. Now, in order to show that this f of x plus c, that is f plus c function is measurable, we want its domain also measurable. But as of f is given to be a measurable function, and similarly f plus c is defined on the same domain D, what remains to prove simply? It remains to prove simply the set x such that f of x plus c operated on x less than alpha type. This must be measurable. But this f plus c operated on x is f x plus c, which is less than alpha. Now can be written as f of x less than alpha minus c. But as f is measurable for any real number alpha, this kind of set x such that f x less than by a real number is a measurable set. Therefore, this is measurable, proving f plus c is measurable. Same logic is true for the function cf multiplication by a constant. Then for proving f plus g is measurable, here we have written, we have made some adjustment actually. F plus g operated on x is defined to be f of x plus g of x. And if I want to construct a set with the condition f plus g operated on x less than alpha is equivalently f of x plus g of x less than alpha, okay, which also can be written as f of x less than alpha minus g of x. Now, these are the two real numbers. In between the two real numbers, we have written one rational number due to the density property, right? Then a set f of x less than r less than alpha minus g of x can be written as collection of x such that f of x less than r less than alpha minus g of x. This set can be written as the intersection of the two different set with the two different conditions. First condition is f of x less than r. Second condition is f of r. First is this condition. Second is this condition, r minus r less than alpha minus g of x. But in order to write a general set of collection of x such that f plus g operated on x less than alpha, how many such r we are going to find? Countable r we are going to find. Therefore, here we have written this set collection of x such that f of x less than alpha minus g of x. Knowing there are countable rational numbers between these two real numbers, we have written this to be a countable union of this intersection which we have written in it previously, right? And then we know if these two sets are surely measurable. F of x less than r measurable, collection of all x such that g of x less than alpha minus r measurable because the functions f and g are measurable. Therefore, these two becomes measurable set. Their intersection will be measurable. No doubt countable union is also measurable. Therefore, we get this set to be a measurable set, proving f plus g is measurable. Using f plus g measurable and writing minus g is measurable from g measurable because multiplication by a constant, and hence we have written f minus g is also measurable. Then the last point, in order to prove f dot g is measurable, we have written f dot g in terms of this. Okay, so a subtraction and addition of the squared functions, and we know all, and we have first proved that the square function is measurable. Once we prove the square function is measurable, this remaining kind of equation will be automatically measurable. Later, we have seen the definition of a step function. Step function is actually a function defined in a closed interval and having a partition of the closed interval in terms of the open intervals xk minus 1 to xk, where the function is defined to be a constant for all the elements of one subinterval, right? Here are the examples we have discussed, right? Synonym function is also a good example of the step function. Now, in today's lecture, we are going to understand important notions or properties of the step function. Okay. Now, the first property, or rather, I can write this as important. Important we were going to write, right? The first important thing about step function, browser. Here I'll write into a bracket about step function. First important thing about the step function is, as according to the definition, this is defined on closed interval. Right now, this is defined on closed interval, and what kind of function it is? Psi of x equals to ck for all x in xk minus 1 to xk. How many such a subintervals do we have? How many subintervals of this AB partition? Partition we have taken the x0, x1 to xn. How many partitions, how many subintervals are there? Yes? Whether I can say there are n subintervals as a partition we have made of this closed interval. Correct, na? Let me show you
Yes.
how these are real. In Riemann integration we have studied in detail. Right? This is the closed interval A to B. The partition we have made is assuming A as x0, then x1, then x2. Somewhere here it is xk minus 1 to xk, and continue this previous second last element one can say is xn minus 1. That of B is xn. Therefore, what is the first subinterval under the consideration? This is the first subinterval, right? x0 to x1. Second, x1 to x2. Continue. Kth subinterval is xk minus 1 to xk. And last, xn minus 1 to xn will be my nth subinterval. Okay, rather those are considered to be the open intervals, right? Therefore, for all those subintervals, how many function values this step function is going to take? For the first interval x0 to x1, say this is c1. Right now, from x1 to x2, this is c2. Likewise, xn minus 1 to xn, it will take cn. But how many function values this step function takes? May I say it
N
will
by
take
2?
only finite values. N it is. N values, na?
Yes, ma'am.
N values it is actually. Similarly here, let us look at this example. The function is defined in the closed interval a to b, but how many function values we have? One function value is alpha, other function value is beta. Why? Because we have made two subintervals of the partition, a to c and c to b. Therefore, it will take only two values, right? Similarly, in this signum function, this was taken to be three values, right? Therefore, the first property of the step function we were going to write is, this is defined on closed interval and assumes only finite number of values. Right now, assumes finite number of values. What about the discontinuities? Can you tell me about the discontinuities? First property I am writing, the step function is defined on closed interval and assumes only finite number of values. Is that okay? First property, right? What about the discontinuities? What is the nature of your function? Is it continuous function or discontinuous function?
Discontinuous.
Discontinuous, ma'am.
Discontinuous at which points?
At C.
This is at C. Right now, the function is discontinuous at C. Similarly, in this signum function, at 0. Right now, signum function discontinuous is at 0. At x equal to 0 function is discontinuous. Therefore, whatever the end points we have now here at this point A, there is no difficulty, it is continuous. At B also it is continuous. But at this middle interval, at the end point, that is this C is the end point of your first interval and the second end point. First end point and second end point. Therefore, one can say that the function is discontinuous at the end points of the subintervals. At the end points of the subintervals. Therefore, if I write the set of discontinuities, may I say the set of discontinuities is having finite number of elements? Right now? the set of discontinuities, endpoints one can say, endpoints of the interval of subinterval. Endpoints of the subinterval forms finite set of discontinuities, right now? That is just I want to tell you that set of discontinuity is a finite set. Okay, and what about a finite set? What about the measurability? Whether the set is measurable? Finite set.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Why? Why it is measurable? What is the reason? Yes, someone has told me the answer. No, it is measurable. But why it is measurable? Set of discontinuities of set function is a set of, what is the major value?
Zero, ma'am.
Yes, it is 0. Set of finite set is of major 0. If it is of major 0, the set is measurable. Correct now? And the third
Yes.
important point we were going to claim about the set step function is the step function is measurable. Now one may have a question how it is measurable. The step function is measurable. Okay? Why it is measurable? What is the definition of measurable function? What we want actually in the measurable function? Domain is measurable and it satisfies one of the statement of the preposition. Correct now? Right. What is the domain of your step function? Psi we have written. This is closed interval a to b to r. What about the nature of closed interval? AB. Whether this closed interval is measurable or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Why measurable? Because it's an interval. And what is the measure of this interval?
Length of that interval.
Length of the interval, that is b minus a. But the first condition is true that psi is defined on a measurable set. Now what remains to check? The set of the type, say I am writing collection of all x such that f of x greater than alpha. This is measurable or not. But if you define any alpha and if you just find out collection of all x greater than that alpha, right? Means a function of this type. Say. If I pick some alpha here, suppose this is my alpha selected. Here only originally I have written alpha beta. Alpha star I will write. Suppose if I select this to be alpha star, then what are the domain points having the function value greater than alpha star? It will cover whole interval. Correct now? If I pick the point here, alpha star, and if I want to collect the domain elements having the value function value greater than alpha star, then what will be the points under the consideration? Up C to B will be the point under consideration. Means finally it will be one interval, no? Therefore, whatever this set we were going to consider, x such that f of x greater than alpha is a subinterval. Correct now? Is the subinterval of closed interval AB. And what about the nature of subinterval? Subinterval is actually an open interval, no? And what about open interval? Measurable or not? Here I will write the set x such that f of x greater than alpha is a subinterval of closed interval AB which is measurable. Correct now? Hence, step function is measurable. Any difficulty? this kind of set is going to give you the subinterval. This is what the point you want to understand. Let me explain by taking another example. Suppose this kind of graph is under the consideration. Okay. Now I am writing a step function like this, say. Right? This is my step function under the consideration. This is my interval A to B, where these are the partitions we have made, right now? These are the partitions of the given interval. And this is the graph of, or this is the axis for a graph function, x function. Wherever alpha you take, this is alpha. Suppose I have taken. Then what will be a domain points having the value greater than alpha? Means all the points above alpha. Right? Therefore, from this point we have to consider, right now? Right now, from this point onwards. Okay, therefore this is actually a collection of first subintervals, this subinterval and that. And we know every subinterval is measurable and union of measurable is also measurable. So whatever the set of this type we were going to consider will give us a measurable set. Therefore the step function is a good example of a measurable function. Yes, any difficulty if you have, you can ask me. No? Let me go for the next function, special function called as characteristic function. Characteristic function. What is the characteristic function? Define. Let me give the definition first. Definition. Let E be subset of R. E be any subset of R. The function. Okay, how it is denoted? Curly x, no? Curly x of E. Characteristic of the set E defined from R2. What is the domain of the, what is the codomain of the characteristic function? How many values it is going to assume?
2.
2 values. Which are the 2 values? 0 and
0 and 1.
When 0? If the element is belonging to the set, function value is
Next
1.
it does belong to complement.
Yes, good. Defined by. Now I am going to write, see, curly x E of x is equal to 1 if x is in E, right? Equal to 0 if x does not belongs to E, right now? If x is a member of E, value is 1. If x is not a member of E, the value is 0. E is called characteristic function. Sometimes the word is used as membership function also. Okay, and here I'll just give you some properties of the characteristic function which will be helpful for us to check the measurability and all the results, right? The first property I'm going to write is characteristic function of empty set is always 0. Characteristic function of the set E is always 1. Correct now? XE means what? XE of X is 1 for all X in E. No? The meaning of XE I will write. The meaning of XE is 1 is characteristic function is 1. Characteristic function for every element X is 1 for all X in E. Correct now? The meaning of XE1 is this. Okay. What is the meaning of X5 then? X5 of X is 0 for all X in phi. But there is no X in phi actually. Therefore, we were writing conventionally that characteristic function of empty set is 0. Characteristic function of the set itself is 1. Okay. Let me write the remaining properties as well. If the set A is contained in V, one can say that characteristic value of a function xa is less than or equals to xb. right? Next property I will write is for the characteristic function of union. Characteristic function of A union B is characteristic of A plus characteristic of B minus characteristic of A intersection B. Characteristic of A intersection B. Right? Fourth property is here only one has to write if A and B disjoint, what will happen? If A and B are disjoint, A intersection B will be phi and characteristic of phi is 0. Therefore, if A and B are disjoint, what about characteristic of A union B?
Characteristic of A plus characteristic of B.
Good. This is characteristic of A plus characteristic of B. One may check it orally, yes, orally also. Suppose the set I am going to write as 1, 2, right? Disjoint I will take so that it will be easy for me to understand. 3, 4. Okay. Now I am going to define the characteristic of A union B. What is A union B here? 1, 2,
1, 2, 3,
and 4, right? Now let us write for one element, characteristic of A union B of 1. What it will be according to the definition? This is characteristic A of 1, characteristic B of 1 minus characteristic of A intersection B of 1. But what is the characteristic value of 1 with respect to A? Whether 1 is member of A or not. Yes, it is.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
value is 1. Whether A is member of B? No. Value is 0. Right? What about A intersection B? Whether 1 is in the intersection B? There is no intersection. These two elements are disjoint and it is 0. Therefore, characteristic of A union B is 1 calculated with this. Actually, this you have studied already in your undergraduate level. I am just recalling the results. Okay. Number 4 result is, what about characteristic of A intersection B? This is characteristic of A into characteristic of B. Okay, because if the element is in the intersection, then it should be a member of both, means the values are 1 and 1. If it is not the member of intersection, what does it mean? The value must be 0. If it is not in the intersection, means it is either not in A or not in B, which gives the characteristic value 0. Correct now? XA complement now. This is 1 minus XA. Okay. Last line, right? For a disjoint sequence. Whatever this we have written for union of two sets, now we will write it for disjoint sequence. For a disjoint sequence, an of sets, we have what we have. What will be the characteristic of union an? What kind of sequence it is? Disjoint, means all the sets are disjoint set, means the intersection is 0. Therefore, it has to go by this rule. Characteristic of A union B is characteristic of A plus characteristic of B. Therefore, here can I write this as sum of characteristic of the sets n. This sum is running over n. Is it okay? This is what a definition of characteristic function and some properties. Now we were going to prove the preposition or example. One can say that this characteristic function is measurable if A is measurable, or if and only if A is measurable. Let me write. Let A be any set. Prove that the characteristic function phi A, chi is this pronunciation, no? Phi A of A is measurable function, if and only if A is measurable. If and only if A is measurable. This is what we wanted to prove. Okay. First we'll think of what about chi of A, whether it is measurable or not. Actually, this characteristic function is defined on the set of real numbers. What about the set of real numbers? Measurable, no? Or not?
Yes, ma'am.
This is measurable. Therefore, the first condition of measurable function is true, that the characteristic function is defined on a measurable set. What remains to check? One of the condition, one of the statement in those, in that preposition, no? Among those four statements. Okay. Therefore, to check, here can I write simply? We know that this characteristic function A is defined from R2 double turn 0 1, right? Now I am going to write for any alpha in R, for any alpha in R. Now I am considering a set X such that f of X. Can I write chi of A directly? Chi A of X is greater than alpha. Okay. What happens if alpha less than 0? Let us write the definition also. Chi of A of X takes value 1 and 0 if X is in A. And if X is not in A. We have only two values, 0 and 1. Then what about alpha less than 0? If I take any value, say alpha minus 1 I have taken. Then we want collection of elements of this domain X such that characteristic of A is greater than minus 1. Greater than minus 1 will include both the values, na? 0 and 1. Will include both the values 0 and 1. Therefore, what will be the collection of elements in the domain satisfying this condition? Means chi of A takes both the values 0 and 1. Therefore, may I say this is nothing but whole domain R. For alpha less than 0 I am writing. Okay, are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
We were collecting the elements of the domain X. Here I can write X in R such that characteristic function A of X takes value greater than minus 1. Minus 1 is just for the sake of understanding the point. Greater than minus 1 means it will take both the values 0 and 1. Therefore, every element in R is going to assume either 0 or 1. Therefore, what will be this set? Which is R itself, right? If I restrict the values of alpha from including 0 to strictly less by 1. Including 0 to strictly less than by 1. Now, let me check. Let me say if alpha takes value 0. If what kind of statement it is? Chi of A of X greater than 0. Chi of A of X is greater than 0. Right? And if I take alpha equal to 1. If I take alpha equals to 1. Sorry, alpha cannot be taken 1. Less than 1. Say half I am taking. I am taking say half. If I take half, then this will be chi of A of X is greater than half. Okay, means we have to include 0 and we have to include 1 as well. We have to include 1, we have to include 0 as well. Sorry, greater than 0 I am saying na. Not 0 is not included. Sorry. If I take alpha equal to 0, this condition will be characteristic of A of X is strictly greater than 0. Strictly greater than 0, greater than half, will take only one value, that is 1, no?
Yes, ma'am.
And 1 is true only if X is in A. Therefore, may I say this will be A set. Only for the elements of A, characteristic function value will take greater than 0 value. Right now? Next, now I will take the value of alpha greater equal by 1. Again, now let me take an example. If alpha is 1, what will be this statement? Collection of all X in R such that chi of A of X is strictly greater than 1. Whether function assumes strictly greater than 1? No, it assumes either 0 or 1. Therefore, what will be this set? There is no element in the domain. having characteristic value greater than 1. Right now? Similarly, you may take alpha greater than alpha 2 also. If I take alpha 2, what will be this statement? Characteristic of A of x is greater than 2. Greater than 1 is not possible. Therefore, all the rest are also not possible. Greater than 1, greater than 2, greater than 3. There is no element in the domain. There is no element in the domain having characteristic function value greater than 1. Therefore, this is empty set. Therefore, this kind of set once gives me R, once gives A, once gives us phi. Whether these three are measurable? R is measurable, no
Yes,
doubt.
ma'am.
R is measurable. Phi is measurable. We don't know about A. Therefore, the function will be measurable if and only if this A is measurable. Right now? Therefore, your measurability of the function depends on measurability of A. Right? Therefore, shall I write next statement? Therefore, this characteristic of A is a measurable function if and only if collection of all x such that characteristic of A of x is greater than alpha is measurable for all alpha in R, no doubt, for all alpha in R. But for all alpha in R, how many possibilities we have obtained? Once it is A, R, once it is A, once it is phi. R measurable. All the three should be measurable, no? Okay. But what we know, R and phi itself are measurable. Therefore, this depends only on A is measurable. Reason, since R and phi are always measurable. Okay. Therefore, here only one has to include chi of A. R is measurable, depend on measurable set, and this is also measurable. Okay. Thus, what we have proved, chi A is measurable if and only if A is measurable. Yes, students, understood this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we were going to write a note by using this two functions. What is the first? Existence of non-measurable set implies the existence of non-measurable function. Right now? Measurable function totally depends upon measurability of this function, na? X such that phi of A of x is measurable, which is actually a subset of the domain. If the subset is measurable, we were getting the function is measurable. Therefore, may I say if the subset, this subset, whatever we are obtaining, if this is non-measurable, then what about the function? The function will be
Non-measurable.
right now. Just I will write existence of non-measurable set implies the existence of non-measurable function. Existence of non-measurable function. Okay. Also, one more note I want to claim. In the last lecture, we have proved if two functions are measurable, their addition is also measurable. Can the same result we can claim for addition of two non-measurable functions? Sum of two non-measurable function is non-measurable. Can we claim like this? Sum of two measurable functions is measurable. This we have proved. But we want to discuss for sum of two non-measurable functions. What do you think? What will be a result? Let me give an example. Uh, Suppose P is a measurable set, non-measurable set. P is non-measurable set. What about P complement? Non-measurable. Because P measurable, then it gives you P complement measurable. P and P complement both are the non-measurable sets, say. Now let us find out the corresponding characteristic function. What about characteristic function of the set P? This is chi P. And what about chi P complement? These are non-measurable functions, right? No? Because just now we have proved that this chi A is measurable function if and only if the set A is measurable. Therefore, if I am starting with P and P complement to be non-measurable sets, therefore the corresponding characteristic functions must be non-measurable functions. But what about their addition? Chi P plus chi P complement. As these two are disjoint, correct now? These two are disjoint. What this addition is being evaluated? May I write this as chi of P union P complement with this property of the characteristic
Yes,
function.
ma'am.
Chi of A union B is chi of A plus chi of B if A and B are disjoint, right? So here I am claiming the result for P and P complement. But what is P and P complement? For P to be any set in R, chi of R. Correct, no? But what about chi of R? R is measurable.
Measurable.
Measurable function. So what we have obtained? Sum of two non-measurable function is measurable. Sum of two non-measurable function is a measurable function. Right now, therefore here one cannot claim that sum of two non-measurable is non-measurable. Therefore here we will write sum of two non-measurable function need not be non-measurable. What is the meaning of need not be non-measurable? It may be non-measurable or it may not be. Here is the example we have produced. That is sum of two non-measurable functions we have obtained a measurable function. Okay? Is the second special function characteristic function understood? Now let
Yes,
us
ma'am.
go to a third special function, simple function. Okay. Now the definition of simple function is very easy. This is a measurable function. Simple function is a measurable function having finite number of values. Having finite number of values. Let me write the definition. A function phi is called simple function. A function phi is called a simple function if it is measurable, and assumes only finite number of values. Assumes only finite number of values. Finite number of values means what? The range set is finite set. Correct now?
Yes, ma'am.
The set is finite. Can anyone tell me the example in your mind if you have? Just now we have seen na characteristic function.
Correct.
Whether this characteristic function provided A measurable. Let us start with the set A to be measurable. Then characteristic function is measurable. And what about the domain range set? It assumes only two values. It assumes only two values. Therefore, this is a simple function. What about the yesterday's step function? We have written today the step function is always measurable. Okay, the function is measurable. What about their values? Again, may I say it will take some finite values, constant values, no, Cn. Therefore, this is also good example of a simple function, right? Therefore, simple function is nothing but a measurable function having only finite values, assuming only finite number of values. Now, we wanted to prove the result that sum, product and difference of two simple functions is simple. Before that, we will try to write this simple function in terms of a characteristic function. Okay, let us see how it can be written in terms of the characteristic function. See, whenever a simple function we have, assuming some finite number of values, what we will do, we will make a collection of elements of the domain. We will make the collection of elements of the domain having same value. Correct? For example, say the range set I am going to write as suppose the range set of A. Of 5 is having some value say a1 a2 up to an, right? What about the domain? The domain may be an infinite set. It may be closed interval, it may be set of real numbers, anything it is. Okay, but we want range set to be finite. Okay, now what the job we were doing, we were collecting all the elements of the domain having image as a1, having image as a1. Okay, let me try to explain with the help of Venn diagram. This is my function phi from domain D, okay, to R. Among R, it has only finite number of values. Let me write the values A1, A2 to AN. See, now the job we were doing is, as the range set is finite, we were collecting those elements of a domain having value A1. That is elements of D which are mapped to A1. Okay. And whatever is this element we will collect, we will call it as set A1 set. We will call it as set A1 set. Similarly, collecting elements of D having image A2 will be A2, set A2, right? Okay. Therefore, let me define the set AI as collection of all the elements. E is the symbol used. Let me change the symbol. E is the symbol used. Collection of all x in E such that, what such that? Phi of x is AI. Understood this set? AI? Or rather, these are the pre-images of the AI. Right now, pre-images. A1. If I am considering set A1, this will be pre-images of element A1. If it is set A2, these are the pre-images of A2. Likewise, we were going to define. Now, one can express the function phi in terms of the characteristic function using characteristic of AI. No doubt this AI is subset of E, no?
Yes, ma'am.
AI is subset of E. Now, the function phi of x is defined as summation AI into phi AI of x. And what is I running from 1 to n. Okay, let us check how this is giving you the value. Say phi of x I am writing. Let it just run up the sum. Here it is a1 phi a1 of x plus a2 phi a2 of x and so on an phi an of x. Okay, now let us say that this x is in a1 subset of E. X is in a1. What about the characteristic values of these functions now? What about this value? phi a1 of x. X I have selected in a1. What about this value?
1.
Yes, it is 1. What about this value? What about this value? 0.
Yes,
X
ma'am.
is in a1, therefore chi a2 of x must be 0. Chi an of x is 0. Therefore, what we were getting?
1.
Right now, we were getting phi of x is a1. You may check it like this for the remaining values as well. Okay? If the function phi, which is a simple function, is written in terms of the characteristic function like this. Yes? Any difficulty? If you have, you can ask me. Okay? Therefore, one can write in general the function phi to be summation I equals to 1 to n ai into chi ai. Okay? And this representation of the function phi is unique. This representation of phi is unique and called as canonical representation. And called canonical representation. Or natural. You can say canonical or natural. Why it is natural? Because we have just made use of the definition of phi and characteristic function in order to write phi in terms of the characteristic function. This is naturally. We have not done any extra efforts. Right now? Therefore, whatever these AIs we have selected are non-zero. Okay? In this representation, all AIs are non-zero and set AIs are disjoint. Okay? Shall I go for proving this result now? These are actually the homework example given in the Roydens book. Okay? Prove that the sum, difference and product of two simple functions are simple. Now, in order to prove this sum, difference, and product of two simple functions simple, we were going to make use of this representation of the simple function. Okay, let phi and psi be two simple functions. Two simple functions. Once I will write phi as summation. Instead of ai's, let me write alpha is. Alpha is into chi ai. Summation I running from 1 to m say. Similarly, psi I am going to write summation I equals to 1 to n. Finite values, no, that once it is m, once it is n, I am assuming. Function values are alphas and here it is betas. And here it is chi beta I. Right? Okay. Now let us consider the sum first. Consider. Summation we wanted to consider. Phi plus psi. What is the summation? I from 1 to n alpha I chi ai added with summation I equals to 1 to n beta I into chi beta I. We cannot make a direct addition of these sum values because the parameters for both the sums is different. For the first sum, the parameter I runs from 1 to m. For the second sum, parameter value runs from I equals to 1 to n. Therefore, direct addition of the two sums is not possible. Therefore, in order to have this addition possible, we were going to make an adjustment. We were going to write it as a one sum by using the relation between m and n. Okay. For the sake of convenience, now I am going to take, say, m is less than n. Okay, m is less than n, that is n is bigger, m is smaller number. Now if I wanted to add both the terms, now I will define this as equal to summation sum gamma I running from 1 to m plus n into chi of ci. Now you may have a question how this is m plus n. Okay, let me explain. Now I am going to take this parameter gamma I. I am going to take the parameter gamma I as alpha I for first m values, and then from m plus 1 to n onwards we will take it as beta, right? Let me show you how. Gamma I is alpha I if I takes the values 1 to m. Okay. Next, for the values I equals to 1 to n, it should be beta I. This should be beta I. Now, anyhow, I want to write gamma I to be beta I for I equals to 1 to n. For an adjustment I will do, I will write it as beta I minus m for I equals to m plus 1, m plus 2 to n. Now, you may check. If I put the value of I equals to m plus 1, what is this parameter gamma I gives me? Gamma m plus 1 will be beta I minus, m plus 1 minus m, this is 1. Therefore, this is the first parameter, right now? Here, let me show you. What is gamma m plus 1? Beta m plus 1 minus m, that is beta 1. What is gamma m plus 2? Is it beta 2?
Beta 2.
Similarly, what about gamma m plus n?
Beta m.
Beta n. Okay. And what for the previous values? Gamma I, alpha I, gamma 1, alpha 1, gamma 2, alpha 2, so on. Gamma m is alpha m. That is, if I run up, here I will write. If I run up the sum into two parts, one is for I equals to 1 to m gamma I chi ci added with I equals to m plus 1 to m plus n gamma I into chi ci. Okay. For the first sum, gamma i's will give you alpha i's, right? But for the second sum, gamma i's will give you betas. Gamma m plus 1 is beta 1, gamma m plus 2 is beta 2, right now? Understood? Now one has to discuss about the characteristic function only. What is chi ci then? And ci I am going to write as ai for I equals to 1 to m and is equals to b of I minus m. Very similar to above. For I equals to m plus 1 to m plus n. You may check again. Chi ci for I equals to 1 to m is chi ai. That is your first term. Right now, these two become same. Then for m plus 1 to m plus n, m plus 1 to m plus n, what about ci values? Let me write. C1 is A1, C2 is A2 till Cm, right? What for the next? Then Cm plus 1. What is Cm plus 1 for I equals to m plus 1? Ci we have defined is Bim. Bi minus.
B1.
Yes, it is B1. So m plus 1 minus m, this is B1. What about Cm plus 2? B2. So on Cm plus n, it will be Bn. Okay. Therefore, whatever is this characteristic function we have written this chi ci. This chi ci is nothing but chi ai for I equals to 1 to m, and for I equals to m plus 1 to m plus 1, this chi ci is nothing but chi bi. So whatever this new sum we have written is just an adjustment we have done. We wanted to add two sums, we wanted to write it as a one sum. Therefore, we have made an adjustment simply. So this is actually These two sum brought up into one sum. Okay? Without changing the values. Therefore, gamma i's and ci's are defined like this. Okay? Therefore, 5 plus I can assume this right now. Okay? Now, when this 5 plus psi becomes a simple function, what is the definition of simple function? You forgot again. A function is simple if it is measurable and assumes finite number of values. Right? If you're looking at this statement, may I say again 5 plus I assume finite values 1 to m plus n, but one has to check whether it is measurable. Okay, but we know as phi and psi are simple, therefore these are measurable. What about sum of measurable functions?
Measurable.
Measurable.
Here I will write since phi and psi are simple function, it implies phi, sorry, simple function, it implies phi and psi are measurable, right? Phi and psi are measurable function. What about the addition 5 plus psi is also a measurable function. Is also a measurable function. Now 5 plus psi is a measurable function. Assuming finite values I equal to m plus n. Therefore, here can I write also 5 plus psi assumes finite values, no? This implies phi plus psi is a simple function. Okay. Now one can show similarly difference is also simple. Phi minus psi is simple function. How can we adjust? This plus psi we have to write as minus psi simply. Wherever plus psi we have, you have to write minus psi. Here you have to give a negative sign and you write everything again. Here it is minus beta I. Here it is minus bi, right? And then it will be measurable. At what point lastly I wanted to prove some difference we have proved. Now we will go for product. Okay. Now let me write phi dot psi. What is phi actually? I equals to 1 to m alpha I chi ai multiplied by summation I equals to 1 to n beta I chi bi. Okay, how the product is being evaluated? For the sake of convenience, I will change the parameter of the second sum. I will write this as j equals to 1 to n beta j x bj, just to make the difference. What will be a sum? Sum is running over I and j now. Alpha I beta j chi ai into chi beta j. A product. Right? What is this product? This I'll call as a new number, say gamma ij. Okay, and this is nothing but characteristic function of the intersection ai intersection bj. If alpha I beta j, if I is in number m, j is in number n, what about this product alpha ij? Mn in number, no? I equals to 1 to
Yes,
how many
ma'am.
number of elements? Mn number it will generate. Okay. Therefore, whatever phi and psi, phi dot psi we have written, this is going to assume finite values. Again, how many values? Mn values.
Mn
What about
values.
phi dot psi? Whether it is measurable?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. May I write directly thus? Phi dot psi is measurable and assumes finite values. implies phi dot psi is a simple function. Okay? Any difficulty in the proof? If you want, you can
No,
ask.
ma'am.
Or you may write one more thing. Chi A is measurable. Instead of writing assume finite values, you can, okay, this is good, I think. Assumes finite values. Okay? This is what today we have seen, step function and simple functions, and we have checked out its measurability as well. Now in next lecture, we will go for finding limit superior, limit inferior. Therefore, again I am going to remind you how to revise the concept limit superior and limit inferior. Okay? Because in the next lecture I am going to take this one. Let me stop it for today. Thank you for being with me for this lecture.